The cameras were already rolling. Lights beamed hot and bright, bouncing off the shiny floor of the DC broadcast studio. The crew was tense. Something was off. You could feel it in the silence between coughs and shifting chairs. But no one could have predicted what would happen just 46 seconds later. Karoline Foster was a young, rising star in political journalism. With her sharp mind and magnetic voice, she had just landed the opportunity of a lifetime. An exclusive interview with First Lady Jill Biden during a live televised town hall. For months, Karoline had prepared, rehearsed, and dreamed of this very moment. Her parents were watching from her hometown in Ohio. Her professors, her mentors, even her college roommate had stayed up late to see her shine. But nothing could have prepared her for what happened that night. Jill Biden walked in with her usual grace, dressed in a powder blue suit, poised in every step. Karoline, trying to hide the tremble in her hand, stood up and extended a polite greeting. The cameras zoomed in, the network's logo faded into the background. Viewers across the nation tuned in, and then it happened. Before Karoline could even finish her first question, a respectfully worded inquiry about education policy, Jill Biden raised her hand, leaned in, and said, firmly, but without raising her voice, "That's not what we're here to talk about. I'm sorry, but I think we're done here." Karoline blinked, confused. Surely this was a misunderstanding. But the First Lady was already signaling to her staff. A producer gestured off camera. Security stepped forward. The words echoed across the studio, and Karoline could feel the blood drain from her face. "Please," Jill Biden said again, still calm, still steady, "you need to leave." Karoline, stunned, stood up. She turned toward the wings, where a shadowy staffer was now motioning for her to exit. 40-6 seconds. That's how long it took to go from career breakthrough to public humiliation. She walked off set with her heart pounding in her chest like a war drum. Her ears rang with the silence of thousands watching from across the country. And then, just as she reached the curtain, just as the reality of the moment began to settle, someone shouted her name, Karoline Leavitt. A floor director ran up, breathless. "They're keeping the cameras live. You're still on, you're still micked." Karoline froze, still live, still being watched. She could feel the sweat roll down her back, her throat tight and dry. 1,000 things rushed through her head. Was it her tone? Did she accidentally offend the First Lady? Would this ruin her career? Would anyone ever hire her again? And then clarity. She turned slowly, walked back to the edge of the stage where the lighting spilled out in gold and white, and did something no one expected. She addressed the audience, standing just inches from the place where she'd been dismissed. Karoline took a deep breath and said, "To everyone watching at home, I want you to know something. Moments like this are not the end. They're not defeat. They're part of the risk we take when we try to ask hard questions. And I'd rather be dismissed for asking something real than applauded for playing it safe." The room went silent. Not even the click of a camera. Just breathless stillness. Karoline continued. "We are not defined by how people react to us in our worst moments. We are defined by how we respond. I still believe in respectful journalism. I still believe in truth. And I'm not done." And with that, she walked off set. The feed cut to black dot. What followed in the next 48 hours was something no one saw coming. Clips of her speech went viral. Overnight, the hashtag Karoline Rising trended worldwide. Political analysts weighed in on what had happened. Some criticized the First Lady. Others defended her. But nearly everyone agreed on one thing. Karoline had shown incredible poise. Under pressure, emails flooded in. Major news outlets reached out. Even a well-known media veteran tweeted, "That young woman showed more courage in 60 seconds than most do in a lifetime." But behind the scenes, Karoline was struggling. She had cried in the car after the show. Not from embarrassment, but from sheer emotional exhaustion. She wondered if it was worth it, if pursuing journalism meant enduring this kind of vulnerability, if being a woman in this space meant walking a tightrope between confidence and consequence. Her phone rang later that night. It was her mother. "You were brave," she said, "and we're proud. You didn't break, you rose." That phrase stuck. Karoline didn't break. She rose. In the weeks that followed, she was offered a segment of her own, a new show focusing on young voices in politics, asking unfiltered questions. She accepted, not for fame, but because the world had reminded her that truth and courage still mattered. Gil Biden never publicly commented on the incident. Whether it was a miscommunication, a moment of frustration, or something else entirely, Karoline never held it against her. In interviews, she simply said, "It was a moment. And, like all moments, it passed. What mattered was how I chose to meet it." And so, from a moment of rejection came a powerful reminder. Sometimes, the doors that slam hardest are the ones that redirect us toward our purpose. Karoline didn't fall that day. She stood taller. And somewhere, in every viewer who saw her walk back toward the lights, something stirred. A belief that when we speak our truth, even through tears and fear, we make space for something greater than applause. We make space for change.